Hi everybody, good afternoon and thank you for coming. My name is Barry Pugach. I work in the video department at MIT. So we're MIT Video Productions. And with me here, next to me here, the very handsome and tan man is Terry Cullen. He's the CEO and founder of One Beyond. And we're here today to talk about a really nice project that was completed for spring semester at MIT that involved myself, other people on campus, and Terry and his company. The talk is going to be just kind of that 10,000-foot view. It's really quite a bit that kind of went into everything, but I did want to give you a sense in terms of what my department does and our role on campus, as well as give you just an overview of the project itself. I did want to talk about there's something called the Office of Digital Learning and the task force, and some of the technical recommendations, as well as what happened to select the vendor to make this project happen. And then I'm going to turn it over to Terry, who's going to kind of give you an overview and actually do some demos of some of the solutions that One Beyond provided for our project. And then at the end, we'll do some Q&A, and we'll tell you how the project went.
With the clicker?
Yep, either way,
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I'm good.
All right.
So MIT Video Productions, we are the kind of the main in-house MIT video production department. So we were founded about over 30 years ago, and all the big stuff that happens at MIT, there's a good chance we were there. So if the Dalai Lama comes, we were there. If it's convocations when the freshmen come in, we tape that. Everything, we do everything from all the symposia that happen on campus. Lecture capture is a big part of what we do. We had over 1,500 video events in 2014. So it gives you a sense in terms of the volume that we do. We also maintain the University Video Archive. So there's over 40,000 pieces of information in that archive. I checked it yesterday and just did a total count, and it was kind of scary. And we are part of the Office of Digital Learning. So the role of the Office of Digital Learning is to let me go to my thing here. I have it exactly here. But basically, the role is to improve the student experience. To improve the student's online learning experience. So I think the reason a lot of people are here today is because we all appreciate the value of online learning and online education. And so we support that initiative as part of the Office of Digital Learning. And we work very closely with MITx and ultimately edX, as well as the other departments on campus. So the bulk of what I do, I'm a camera operator. So I'm in a classroom taping a business course that I'm at twice a week, and one of the students comes up to me as I'm packing up my gear and he says, "So Barry, when's this going to be available?" And I'm like, geez, I know we're going to edit it, because I know the teacher wanted to put the slides in, plus you might want to take out, and I wasn't quite sure if it was going to maybe go to OpenCourseWare, so it could be several weeks. And I just kind of looked at him. I'm like, gee, I don't really know. And it might not even be this semester, quite honestly. And he actually said to me, gee, for a technical school, you guys don't do technology very well. And so you kind of see some of the challenges with lecture capture, particularly, if it's busy. And the Office of Digital Learning was kind of tasked with, is there a way that you can get the stuff in the students' hands right away that isn't, cost prohibitive? That is there a way to really give us something that is really going to better serve the student, better serve the faculty, to really try to give them something that didn't have to be edited, that would just kind of shorten that whole life cycle of video production to sort of removing the personnel component and giving them something that that they'd be able to see same day, hopefully. So a task force was assembled, and the task force was tasked with, here we go, so it included members from different departments across the university. So Elaine Mello's here, so she's in the distance education department, but we had people from the registrar's office, audiovisual, my department, other people that sort of specialized within the Office of Digital Learning, to try to investigate and ultimately recommend an automated lecture capture system in an effort to improve that whole workflow, reduce costs, remove labor, and ultimately, and this is some of what they came up with. So it had to be something that was going to be high definition. So 1920, 1080, 20 megabits per second. So that'd be, ideally they'd want individual recordings that were high enough quality that they could be re-edited at a later time. So if MITx or edX or one of the departments said, geez, I'd love to take these and put them as part of a smaller module and maybe cut these up or redo them, that we'd be able to do that. And then these are just some of the criteria that they came up with. These are just kind of the high points. But they felt that an automatic tracking camera would be important. But ultimately, a lot of it came down to a multi-stream playback of whatever the source was. So whether it was a computer feed, whether it was a whiteboard, and that ultimately that could be seamlessly integrated into Stellar. So Stellar is like the MIT online course platform. So that's kind of the internal one where if a student's in 6.046, he goes to that and it's got, here's the agenda, here's the syllabus, and here's the lecture from last week. But ultimately, the goal was to really try to find out, is there a way to keep this fully automated? So there's the multiple stream playback, but no staff, no editing, same day upload. Can you get it to the kids right away? Then, okay, there were several systems that were evaluated, and One Beyond came to us, and we sat down in one of our classrooms, and they were wonderful to work with. But ultimately, they were the only vendor that had the 4 streams at 20 megabits per second, and so they were able to sort of demo the U-Switch player, and we just loved it. It was just like, wow, this is so cool. And we're just toggling between, essentially you can pick whatever camera angle is of most value to you. And then they demoed the auto tracker. And the auto tracker, again, we were pretty skeptical. I'm a camera operator, so I'm, of course, not only do I not want to be out of a job, but I also really was kind of like, and they demoed it, and including like, we're trying to fake it out. I'm like, gee, this works very, very well. So this is the classroom itself, the one that we did the lecture capture in. So this particular classroom is large. It's 325 students, very slanted. It had a standard definition video system in it that was pretty tired. But it's got, you can see there's the screen that's above the chalkboards. There's actually room for a document camera on the left on a separate screen. And then something that we had wanted to, occasionally we'll get these beautiful, very nice events in there. And we have several different classroom setups where we actually have like a switcher system where, the operator will sit down and he can kind of pick, what goes on. So if it was a live event, but we didn't want to necessarily hand the people that were doing this event. So if it's, say, Steven Pinker, comes to campus and speaks, that they don't want to use switch of that. They just kind of want to see something that looks more like a traditional finished switch program. So One Beyond actually helped us with the switcher for those live events. So at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Terry, who's going to tell you about some of the wonderful things that they brought us.
Okay, Barry, thank you very, very much. That was an excellent background and setup. So let me get this clear. You're saying if I can record 4 sources, high definition, 20 megabits a second, if I can come up with an auto tracker that's cost effective and actually works, and if I can present the students with their ability to switch their own camera angles and also give you a high touch switch option, then I can go home. Is that it?
Yeah, I'd have to get a purchase order first.
Well, the good news is this is the fun part of the presentation because we actually have all of these solutions and they've been in use since February 1st in this experiment. And so we have the QuadDDR, which, as Barry mentioned, is very unique because it'll record 4 independent 20 megabit per second, which is kind of the sweet spot of recording. And we have the auto tracker, and I'm going to show you an actual demo of that, but it's also in our booth. If you want to come and look at any of these things, we have all of these things in our booth. What? Oh, the booth number. Yes, the booth number is 529. So we're in 529, and we also have the U-Switch and the Stream Machine there, but I'm going to give you a live demo of the U-Switch right here. Okay, let's start out with the auto tracker. This is by far the most popular of all of the different options that we've developed for event recording and lecture capture and remote education. The uniqueness of the auto tracker, besides the fact that it's very cost effective and it works well, is the fact that it plugs into anything. So you can be running MediaSite or Panopto or whatever you want to be recording with or switching with, and the equipment doesn't know the difference. It thinks this is a standard camera. The fact that this camera is tracking, it doesn't need an external computer, it does all of this on its own. And there's actually 2 cameras built into it. You can see a demo of this on our website as well. And in the booth, 529, yeah, okay. And so I'm going to show you a demo right now, so you'll be able to see this thing in action. And if high technology allows me here to push the demo button. And the first thing I want you to notice is the camera is locking in on the person at the front of the room, which happens to be Ronnie, our video star. This was a test actually we did at MIT. Now you can see it's locked onto her, and it's tracking. As she moves back and forth, the camera very smoothly and very accurately tracks her, so the cameraman is gone. And this is completely automatic. Now I want to show you, she's waving that eraser because some people, the motion distracts it. And here comes a lonely guy walking through there, and it completely ignored him, even though she had her back turned, if you saw that. And now we asked Ronnie to try to outrun the camera. You know, some of these professors are very fast. Let's see how fast you can go back and forth here if the camera can keep up. And here, she is actually coming towards the audience. You see that we not only pan, but we zoom in and out. And there's a person on the left that didn't pay any attention to. And now we're going to show you a completely automatic handoff. This is a question we get all the time. So Larry walks into the priority zone, and Ronnie backs out of the priority zone. The camera locks onto Larry, and now you can see a completely automatic, no hands, Mom, handoff, completely automatic. Okay, so wait, hold your applause until the end, please. All right. And now, the QuadDDR. The QuadDDR is this unique recorder that actually records 4 different streams of HD and 20 megabits per second. 20 megabits per second, by the way, is kind of the sweet spot between extremely high quality and not using up all of your archive, your disks or your LTO tapes or whatever you're storing all of this stuff on. And this has been the sweet spot adopted by edX and MITx and various other organizations. So here we can record 4 independent inputs, and we also have the automatic software that at the beginning of the lecture turns all this equipment on, turns the cameras on, sets them to presets, turns on the recorders, starts recording. The professors like this because they don't want to really do anything. They want to be natural. They want to walk in and do their lecture just like they would any other day, and they don't want to have to step on anything. They don't want to have to talk into microphones that are in the ceiling so they know where the professor is. They certainly don't want to wear anything on them. And so this whole thing with the automation, and then at the end of the day, it actually sends all of these videos out to their server, whatever server you choose for different parts of the video that's been recorded. And here is, we think, a pretty magical piece of technology, patent applied for, and what it is this is where we engage the student, and this is how we are able to record and stream either or both, up to 4 camera angles and not have anybody in production. Nobody is sitting there switching the camera because, first of all, the student may not like what the person is switching to. The student may want to be watching something else. So if you look up at the top of this, see if my pointer works, up at the top here, you'll see there are 4 live, when I turn on the demo, there are 4 live camera angles up here, and all the viewer has to do is touch one of those camera angles, and we will instantly switch the video and the audio with no glitch, and the viewer is now watching what they want to see. So let me turn on this demo, and I'm going to make it full screen here. We want to have the full impact of this. And boom. Play.
So the stack gives you...
This is an actual
intuitively, the stack is giving
professor.
you exactly the power that you're missing in DFAs.
I'm going to turn off the sound for a second and show you that if you notice up in the upper left, that's the auto tracker camera, and the red arrow there means that that's what we're currently watching. If I go to this view, I can see the detail on the blackboards on the left-hand side of the room. If the student is interested in that, if I want to see the center blackboards, I can go here. And if I want to see the right blackboards, I can go to the far right view. And notice that, I'm going to turn the sound back on again, there is no glitch whatsoever when we switch.
Push objects onto the stack.
We're the
everything is none.
first company that's been able to do this. I know other people are interested in this.
Now we're doing
But
delete. This is the one
here's another
situation when
professor,
we have
another example.
becomes none from
You can
scratch.
see how much detail is on
In
the
that
board.
case, no recursive
And
comments.
also note
So
that
that
the
means this
cameras that are
algorithm
being
is
used
efficient
here are
because if I had to
cameras that are
delete from
supplied
some
by
structure,
One
this
Beyond.
only
We
had a single
manufacture
item, which is this
PTZ
situation,
and
then I
auto
just said
tracker
mean
cameras.
equals to none, and
So
I'm done.
the
So this
detail
will
there,
run
let me
in
get
log
that
log
sound off. Okay, thank you. Yeah. So now here's an example with a PowerPoint. So you can watch the presenter, you can watch the PowerPoint, you can watch the detail on the blackboards on the left or the right. And when a student is reviewing this, whether it's after class or whether it's cramming for exams, you can go back. If you miss something, you can back up, you can play it again, you can look at it from a different angle, you can look at that thing that you missed on the chalkboard before he erased it. And the students do appreciate this. Barry is going to tell you a little bit more about that in a few minutes here. But let's see if I escape. And yeah, here's a little diagram that shows what's going on. We have an appliance on the left. The 4 cameras plug into that, and that's really all there is. It goes into the Magic Cloud, and there is a player involved. But what have we seen here? What we've seen is we're engaging the student. The student becomes part of the experience of learning, and this gets their attention. It's harder to fall asleep rather than just having somebody pump a lecture at you. And the students are pleased because they can watch what they want to watch, so they feel like they're in control. You know, kids today, I'm old enough to be able to say that, they want to watch what they want to watch, where they want to watch it, how they want to watch it, and when they want to watch it. So this blends right into the mind psyche of this kind of video engagement. And it allows the multi-camera experience with no switching operator and no post editing. That's the big thing. So finally, the last piece of the puzzle is our stream machine. This is where, if you want to have a fully switched event where somebody is manually in control of the event because you're streaming it or because it's a very important event or you have a producer that wants to run the show, our series of stream machines, we have 5 different chassis, but here we're showing 3 of them. The one on the bottom, the rack, is typically used in the classroom. And then we have 2 portables that a professor or a presenter can actually pick up and go to another venue. And the beauty of the stream machine, this is generation 3, we call it technology, where everything is self-contained. The complete front end, the ability to add graphics and playback videos and add lower thirds, and all the things that you see in a professional TV production can be done with this one box, and the encoding also is done within that box. So completely self-contained. You fold up the keyboard, you walk away. So there are many examples of where this type of equipment is being used as well. So what is happening at MIT with this? This is being adopted. We made quite a nice splash at Infocom with Best of Show and NAB Best of Show. But even within MIT, which is a very large organization, as you can imagine, the different departments of MIT are recognizing the benefits of the technology that we brought. But what I want to point out to you here is that these different pieces of technology that I've just shown you are all independent. They don't have to be used as one group. You can use auto trackers with nothing else. You can use stream machines with your own cameras. You can use the U-switch. And this shows a great example, I think, of how people are using these same set of products in very different ways. So the Sloan School, for example, if you jump down to the center, they came over to the Department of Engineering and saw the auto tracker in action. They immediately called up. They were having 2 classrooms built out and told the person, stop the RFP, take out that auto tracker that we had in there and put in the One Beyond auto tracker because it really, really works. And so all they are interested in is the auto tracker because they already have all the other equipment spec. Plug it into whatever you want. The Office of Digital Learning, which Elaine is part of here, that is joining us. One of the things they're doing with this is distance learning. This is very, very different than lecture capture, as you know. And, but they're able to use the same pieces because you still have the benefit of the auto tracker, watching the professor. So I'm not locked to the, to the podium and like my clicker. I love this thing because I can walk around and it gives you that freedom. And then we have engineering computer science putting in more classrooms and most recently the Center for Brains. I love that title because they are brains. But they found out about this whole thing, and they're putting in 3 classrooms with traditional switching and template recording using our stream machine and the auto tracker. But also, they're putting on a big remote seminar at Woods Hole this summer, and it lasts about 5 or 6 weeks, and they have to go into the classroom, set it up. At the end of the day, they have to pull it out, and this goes on for 5 or 6 weeks. And when he saw the portable unit with the fold-up screen, that he said, this is it. This is where we're going. We just fold it up and we're out of here. So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Barry, and he's going to do a little wrap-up here.
There, yep, great. And it was actually me that I called because I'm, sort of very visible on campus in terms of usually in the hallway pushing my camera gear from one place to the next. But I was the project manager on this installation in 34101, and it was me that actually, it was so cool, is particularly like the auto tracker and the switcher, that I called one of my buddies over at the Sloan School and said, Ken, you got to check out this system we put in. This thing's awesome. But it was that kind of a set. Yes. Yeah, so
and will those switch if you have a course coming in?
Yeah, so they actually, One Beyond actually created for us like basically some presets. So if you have a more complicated setup where you want to have the switcher, the VGA as one, like the 2 classes that we had done, these computer science ones, they actually didn't even use the overheads. So instead we used a wide shot, which actually worked really well because it gave you good context. Plus you never missed anything that way. So
Next setup software, just to add, you can set the cameras to presets. So like in the engineering room, there is a table you might have seen in the example, and they might have something that they're talking about, so they would want a PTZ pointing at that table. So that can be all automatically set up at the beginning of, before the record.
Yeah. So this is kind of the room where it was. I kind of want to just tell you a little bit about the results as we wrap up. There's the classroom itself, and if you look, Terry, if you want to do the pointer, in the very back of the center photograph is actually the 3 soffits, so there's a One Beyond camera in the back of each one of those, right? So it's 1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
And in the center is the auto tracker. And then the first photograph is actually a photo from the control room. So the control room is fairly small because it's not really designed for someone to sit in, but there's enough room for, I can put my coffee in there. There's a couple of One Beyond controllers. And then a confidence monitor, and then in the rack there above, the very top is actually the production switcher, and then partway down, or kind of below the patch bay, you actually have the U-switch recorder and then the quad recorder at the bottom. And then don't forget your UPS at the bottom to keep your power nice and clean. And in terms of just general results, we found that the students really liked. We had very positive feedback on the tracking camera. One student, it's kind of fun because I'm in the classroom, so I can kind of check in. And I'm like, so how you guys? What do you think? And there might be maybe there's 40 kids in the room, and they'll be like, oh, it's cool. Or I like the tracking camera. And the overall response to the tracking camera, one student said, oh, I thought there was a guy in there. And I'm like, well, that's a nice comp. And then many of them liked it. I had one student thanked me. He just said, he's like, I missed the first 2 classes. I joined this like a couple weeks in. He goes, this is awesome. Thank you. And I'm like, all right, yeah, we win. No, and but that's kind of what it's all about. But the students love being able to access the files that they missed. We still encourage them to come to class. But ultimately, they have it. And one professor did say, he goes, wow, I think this is the future of lecture capture. This is it. And so we'll see. But we really thank Webeyond for making it happen for us. And thank you for your attention. And I think we're there for questions.
Thank you, Barry.
Yeah.
Okay, we'd like to open it up for questions. Yes? Excuse me? The price, yeah. Like for nothing. No, seriously, the auto tracker is one of the very popular, $49.95. And for instance, the Vadio is about $13,000. So that just gives you one perspective. There are other tracking cameras out there. Cisco makes one. The U-switch appliance is $59.95. I was going to say $6,000, but it's really not. And then the player depends on the size of the university. If you just want to try it out with one classroom, it's $6,000. So for $12,000, you have the whole U-switch technology right there. And anybody on campus can watch it. It goes right out over your network. The QuadDDR is like $5,000, I believe. Any other ones? The PTZ cameras, that's an important one. We have the auto tracker and we have the sister camera, which is exactly the same camera, the same quality. These are all the latest Sony lens, latest Sony sensor and chips inside them. Very high quality. I'm happy to send anybody the specs. That camera is only $24.95.
Yeah.
Yes.
Elaine can answer that question. Elaine's the captioning now.
No, we're not addressing that, but there are, as you probably know, there are pieces of software that you can add to this that would do that sort of thing. Yes, sir.
Auto tracking question. You showed the example of the professor and the person wandering in and it didn't go to him, then came in later on and it did go to him. How is it determined which is which?
Very good question. It was a little bit subtle there, but the way you do a handoff, and by the way, when it locks onto the professor, and we've got examples of this we can show you, the students can be walking right in front of them, going to their seats. They can be walking behind the professor. The TA walks up and talks to the professor. It will continue to lock on the professor as long as he's in what we define as the priority zone, which is basically blackboard to blackboard and here to here sort of thing. Now what happened in the handoff is that it was locked on Ronnie, and she introduced Larry. Larry came in, and she ducked out of the priority zone. As soon as the person that's locked on leaves the priority zone, there's a parameter you can set. I think the default is 5 seconds. And once that 5 seconds has elapsed, it will lock on to the next person that comes into the zone or is already there. Yeah. Yes?
At MIT, do you record student audio in these automated lecture capture rooms at all?
So the way this room was set up is for these classes that we did for this spring, we did not record student audio. We have that capability, But we, in this particular situation, we actually had sort of instructed the professors just to record the questions. So that way we weren't just leaving an open mic up because ultimately, yep.
That's a follow-up, because if you did record the student audio, would it be an all-on or all-off situation? Would you have all the student audio up and it's just up to the entire lecture?
So you could employ an auto mixer if you chose to. I always find you could.
Just curious as to what you do.
So in this particular situation, it was an all-off situation for the overhead. The room you actually see does have overhead mics in it. So I guess that's the reason then you bring in the operator for, if you have an event or something like that. But for the purposes of this lecture capture that we did this spring, it was the professor's body mic, and then we instructed him to repeat the questions.
Back?
Oh, that's an excellent question. So what we find at MIT, okay, is if I hear your voice, there's no real, it's not really, no. I'd say we don't obtain students' permission, to broadcast usually,
Well, usually you can sign up
yeah,
for the class.
the artistic disclaimer, yeah, if you don't want to be. But you wouldn't hear them in this case
I think we
anyway.
have time for one or two more.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
What was your kind of average time investment for training of faculty or instructors for this?
It was like zero. It was zero.
Zero?
Yeah.
So like they didn't need to know about the...
The most important thing is, Professor, turn your mic on. And in this particular, in these classrooms too, there's actually audiovisual involved. So they would do the handoff of the microphone and just clip it on. Honestly, I'd say the only danger that you ever had is the professor that runs, like at MIT, the classes are very, very strict. Professor, you cannot go long. Okay, so this is an automated system. So if the professor does in fact go, we actually had 2 classes that were back to back. And we had one instance where one professor bled his class into the next guy, and he's like, Steve, I got to get started, and the other guy's still like, going, I'm talking about my algorithm here, and he's just, so that's really your one danger of not having a person involved, but ultimately, if the faculty really had no training whatsoever, Yeah.
Lane.
Just want to add to that, in the other installations we plan on doing, which often we have microphones, that they would then hand back these, and it'd be completely up to them to actually go to turn it on. But they get no audio on the network.
So if you're not able to make it to booth number 529, if you want to leave a business card up here, we'd be happy to send you all this information and the links to these demonstrations. And I thank you all for coming.